Welcome back to MPB, Learning Here with me, Ms. Killen. We are in our Unit 7 working with quadratics, and we're on Lesson 4. It says we are graphing quadratic functions using intercepts and vertex. I'm looking at F, I have 7a. I can find and use vertex and intercepts along with my axis of symmetry to graph quadratic functions. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Now, this is noteworthy. We are given a function, g of x, x squared plus 10x minus 24. And our steps that we are going to learn, or I have learned, to graph on a coordinate plane. Step 1, we use A to determine how it's going to open up. We use our axis of symmetry, and we know that it goes through our vertex as my x value. Now, to find that x value in my function, I use opposite of b over 2a, or it can be negative b over 2a. My third step, I'm using the equation. I'm finding g of h. My h value, x value of the vertex to find k. My step 4 is I'm plotting my y-intercept, the constant. Then I plot the mirror point of that y-intercept. It's mirrored because of my axis of symmetry, and we talked about what the axis of symmetry is. Next, I plot my x-intercepts, then I sketch my graph. Now, you have this in your notes page. I wanted to read over it. Now, yes, there is a lot of steps, but I don't want us to get overwhelmed. The best thing to do is to go step by step and see what we've got. So let's do that. I have this equation, A, B, and C. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my A and notice, does my parabola open up or open down? It's positive, so it's going to open up. Next, I'm using my axis of symmetry. My axis of symmetry goes through my vertex, so I'm looking at that h value. To find that h value, I'm doing x equals negative, and I'm looking at my b over 2a. My a is 1, so over 2. So my x equals negative 5. My third step, I'm using the equation, and I'm going to find g of h, which is that negative 5. So I'm going to have g of h equals, and it would be g of negative 5. So then everywhere that I see that x value, what am I going to put? I'm going to put a negative 5. So I have negative 5 squared plus 10 times negative 5 minus 24. Now, that's a calculator skill. I'm going to plug that in my calculator just the way I've written it. I'm going to open parentheses, negative 5 squared plus 10 times 5 minus 24. Now, what do you get? Yes. So what I get is 25 minus 50 minus 24. So my g of negative 5 is what? 25 minus 50 minus 24. I get a negative 49. So I have my k value as negative 49. So right here, I know exactly what my vertex is. I'm going to go over here and have negative 5. And I'm going to go down here and have negative 49. This is my vertex and my axis of symmetry. Now what I want to do is I want to plot my y-intercept, which is my constant. So my constant is negative 24. So I'm going to put that on my paper. And I'm going to put negative 24. And then straight across, I'm going to have another negative 24 over here. Well, Ms. Killen, how do I find that? To find that x value, I would put y, or my f of x, equaling negative 24 and solve for my x. All right, so then it says I put my mirroring point because of the axis of symmetry. Then we want to put what my x-intercepts are. So Ms. Killen, how did I find my x-intercepts again? It's my roots or my zeros. So I can take this and factor. The factors of 24 that subtract to give me a 10. I make my two binomials. X, one's positive and one's negative. I'm going to use 12 and 2. Making both of those equal 0, I have x equals a negative 12 and x equals a positive 2. So I have negative 12 over here, and I have a positive 2 over here. And I would have had this as my parabola. So I had all of my steps that I've learned, all the information that I've learned. The only thing new is how to find that x value of my vertex, and we learned how to do that, negative b over 2a, and then everything else that we're doing is simple stuff that we've learned. So doing all of these steps, I can find out what my parabola looks like. Let's go next. So here's some practice for us to do. We consider f of x equals x squared minus 4x minus 12 as a quadratic function we want to graph. Follow our 5 steps that we've previously used in graphing. So my a is 1. So I know it's going to open up. We need to find my axis of symmetry. So I am going to use that, and we have b over 2a. So I have negative 4 over 2. A negative of a negative is a positive. So I have positive 4 over 2, which is 2. So my x value is 2. 1, 2. I'm going to use that to solve for my k. So I have f of 2 equals 2 squared minus 4x, whoop, not 4x, but 4 times 2, right? So I've got minus 4 times 2 minus 12. So I have 4 minus 8 minus 12. I'm going to plug that in the calculator to see what I get. So I've got 4 minus 8 minus 12, and what you get? I get f of 2 equals a negative 16. So then I know it's right there. That's where my vertex is going to go. So now that I've got that, I've got my 2 and negative 16. The next thing I'm going to do is plot my y-intercept. Well, what is my y-intercept? Negative 12. It's right there. And then it'll be right there. Next thing I want to do is find those x-intercepts. So how do I do that? Solve for my zeros. I've got x squared minus 4x minus 12. Let's see if we can factor it. Factors of 12, that will subtract to give me a negative 4. And that's going to be what? 6 and 2? So I have x and x plus and minus. So a positive 2 minus 6 equaling both of those factors to 0. So x equals a negative 2, x equals a positive 6. So let's go ahead and put those. So I've got negative 2, I've got a positive 6, and this is what my parabola would look like. So all these steps are helping us find what this parabola looks like. That's all it is. Now, Ms. Killen, I have Desmos and I have a calculator. Yes, you do. But what if your question says, at this step, what is your next move or what's your next step? So you've got to know the process, not just be able to push a button, but you have to know the process. All right, let's go. All right, so it's time for you to master. Remember our steps, what I'm doing, 1 through 5. Braylon is given the function h of x equals negative x squared plus 4x plus 21. His test question asked him to find and solve for the following, plus he needs to graph the function on the plane. Complete the graph for Braylon. All right, I want you or you and your table partner to work the problem. Work it amongst yourselves. I'm going to work it, and then let's come back and see what we got. I notice I have my A, B, and C. My A is negative, so it's going to open down. I know that I'm going to use negative B over 2A to find the X value or the H of my vertex. So I have negative 4 over 2 times a negative 1. So that would be negative 4 over negative 2. Negative and negative is positive, so that would be 4 over 2, which would give me a positive 2. So I have 1, 2. Now that I have my H value or my X value of my vertex, I'm going to plug that in to find the K or the Y value. So I have f of 2 equals negative 2 squared plus 4 times 2 plus 21. I have negative 4 plus 8 plus 21. I'm going to plug that into my calculator. So I have negative 4 plus 8 plus 21. I get 25. So my f of 2 equals 25. So I'm going to come up here and put my vertex. So there's my vertex. Next thing I'm going to do is graph my y-intercept, which is my constant, and that is 21. And then over here. Now I need to find what my x-intercepts are. So do I have factors of 21 that will add to give me 4? Yes, I do. So I'm going to build my two binomials, x and x. The second operation is plus, so both of them will be plus. So I have 7 and 3. Does that work? No, it does not. So let's see what we need to do. What did you do? Since I can't factor it, oh, I see what I did. My A does not equal 1. So I need to do bottoms up. Good job. I'm glad y'all caught that. X squared plus 4x minus 21. Now I can factor this. Factors of 21 that will subtract to give me a positive 4 can be what? So I'm going to subtract, get a positive 4, so I'm going to have positive 7 minus 3. I started this out by multiplying that negative into my c, so I'm going to have to divide it back out. So I'm going to have what? X plus 3 and x minus 7 equal both of those to 0. So x equals a negative 3 and x equals a positive 7. Good job. So I have negative 3 and positive 7, and there is my parabola. So now that I've graphed it, let's see if we can answer his questions. A's value, what does it tell me? That it opened down, which it did. Solve and graph the axis of symmetry, and where did we say that was? It was at 2. Solve for K, and what was that? It was 25. Plot an x and y intercepts plus the mirroring points, and we did. I had 3 and I had 7 as my x-intercepts, and my y-intercept was what? 21, 0, 21. Then it says connect all the points and show. So we did. We answered our questions. Good job, guys. We don't want to forget what our 5 steps are to graphing these quadratics. Remember that my h and my k values is just my x and my y value of that vertex. The points and mirroring points and the intercepts are always going to connect if we do the problems right. And we did, so we've learned what we've got. I'm so glad y'all came to work with me today and learned this. I am having such a great time in this unit of working with our quadratics. The more that we get into it, the more that we're going to learn, and I'm having such a great time. I want y'all to have a great day, and thanks again. I am Ms. Killen.